We invite you on a voyage of exploration, a voyage into the world of ancient mythology, a world of gods and heroes who were frequently ungodly and as often unheroic. But in almost every myth, there's a grain of reality. And in this series, we'll try to find the grain that exists in every legend. This voyage will take us to 3 continents and many countries, unearthing clues, piecing together fragments of fact and some marvelous fiction to do with the private lives, sometimes sensational, often deplorable, of our leading characters. One day on Mount Olympus, Zeus made an announcement. "Hear ye, gods and goddesses, my heart commands me to tell you that today a great hero will be born who will rule over all his relatives." "Oh," sighed the gods in amazement, without of course realizing that Zeus himself was partly to blame. The beautiful Alcmene had caught Zeus's fancy a long time ago, and he had spent ages planning her seduction. One day he came up with the perfect solution. He sent her husband, Amphitryon, king of Tyre, away on a business trip. And then, since he was, after all, omnipotent, Zeus turned himself into a convincing copy of Amphitryon. But Zeus's wife Hera, who was fairly used to this situation, immediately realized that something was amiss. Swear, Zeus, that this son is not yours. Swear. At least swear, then, that he who was born first today will rule over all the others born today. I swear. The gods, who could read the signs, realized that something unpleasant was in store, and so they tactfully withdrew. Hera then immediately drove off to make sure that Alcmene's son would not be the firstborn that day. Goddesses can do that sort of thing. And so, condemned to serve those weaker than himself, Hercules was born, the greatest strongman of all times. The Romans were to call him Hercules. From his unsuspecting stepfather Amphitryon, he inherited the castle Tyrans in the Bay of Argolis. These walls are said to have been hewn into blocks by Cyclops. 10, 15, and in one spot 17 meters thick. Why, we still don't know. When these walls were built, the heaviest weapons of assault were the humble arrow and spear. Heracles, or Hercules, became famous by overcoming the obstacles which the jealous Hera, wife of Zeus, his father, prepared for him from his earliest days. Hercules is nearly always shown with a lion skin mantle, in memory of his first victory. Hera saw to it that this greatest of strongmen had to serve the weak and cowardly King Eurystheus, who forced Hercules to fulfill difficult and often demeaning tasks. On his orders, Hercules carried out his famous 12 labors. But there were many other deeds as well that demonstrated his courage and strength. While returning with the Argonauts after their successful voyage in search of the Golden Fleece, his friends asked Hercules to set up a place where they could keep fit. And so he came to the Elis Valley, to the banks of the silver river Alphios. And here he paced off 100 of his strides, thus marking out the length of one stadion, which was to give its name to all the stadiums of the world. Its exact length, 192.27 meters. At that time, only the judges were given seats, with a special place for Demeter, goddess of the crops, the only representative of the fairer sex permitted to be present at the games. Not far from the stadium can be found the ruins of the gymnasium and the palestra, places used by the athletes, wrestlers, and boxers. Wrestling had its precise rules with permitted and forbidden holds. It was the judge's duty to see that these were observed. I wondered if their whips were more successful than today's whistles. The most esteemed discipline was the pentathlon. The victor received the right to have his statue erected at Altis. According to various sources, there were over 3,000 statues here. After the Olympic Games were abolished as pagan ritual, the statues were broken or melted down. Priceless, immortal works bear testimony to the fact that these were not just any old statues. Only a few have survived, most of them as torsos which have since been reconstructed. The sacred area of altars was the heart of Olympia. Hera's temple used to stand here, the oldest known temple on Greek soil. But the most monumental belonged to Zeus. Today, even the ruins are monumental. Built in pure Doric style, it was erected in the first half of the 5th century BC. The ancient world recognized 7 wonders, products of human endeavor that excelled above all others. The 4th of these wonders stood in Zeus's temple. The sculptor Phaeda's Olympic Zeus statue of gold and ivory. Christian fanatics and then earthquakes reduced Zeus's temple to its present state. For visitors, Olympia is one of the most wonderful of archaeological parks. Who wouldn't like to try himself out on the real, original Olympic track? Particularly in front of a public that was not made up of men only, as it was in Hercules' day. These judges can no longer indulge in the ancient rite of whipping those who break the rules. But would they be able to appreciate the subtleties of unarmed combat? It's thanks to the work of German and Greek archaeologists that Olympia came to light once more. Under the guidance of Ernst Curtius, they began in 1875 to strip off the 5 to 7 meter deep layer of mud and earth that covered the site. It took nearly 100 years to get to the starting line. They reconstructed the portals leading into the stadium. Its height was said to take into account Hercules' athletic stature. The games, which were held here for over a period of 1,100 years, are now being held again. But Ekikairi, the peace that reigned during the time of the games, as ordained by Hercules himself, has not been resurrected. Perhaps the world needs a new Hercules to teach them that there's more to the Olympic Games than just competing.